Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian,
No, I'm Ethan.
and in this video, we're going to probably rattle on for another, well, we probably won't rattle on for an hour. I think in general, we're not as jazzed. There might be some spiraling, but we're going to talk about the circle changes from the dynamic update or the quality of life dynamic update. So the Trollblood video was like Ethan and I were kind of returning. Well, one of us is returning back to our home. I'm going to the Creels for mine, and Ethan's first faction he ever started was Circle. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of check some of these changes out and see what kind of things get us excited for Circle. It's gonna be a lot of Ethan more kind of guiding this one because I am not an extremely well-versed Circle person other than like just a few things here and there. I'll Kruger 2 all day, but that's about it.
Well, yeah, you play into him enough.
Yep. I played him 3 times once. No, 4 times now I think I've played him, and he's really not that hard to figure out.
Hey. Fuck you. He's intricate.
It's not like playing Haley 2 where you got to think. You know?
Oh, screw you.
All right, Ethan, so how about you lead us off with some Baldur?
Yeah, so I guess we'll go over the Warcaster changes. First thing, just going through the thing, is Baldur 1 in the Solid Ground change. So basically, it doesn't do blast immune. It's just blast resistance, just like everything else. That kind of hits him in Tharn a bit because like him with blood trackers was super popular.
Yeah,
and like I still used to run that all the time. But yeah,
blast resistance with them just doesn't help.
No, them being Arm 11 is just cute. It's much cuter with the male Tharn. Like it's just kind of a wash with them because with Arm 15 and rapid healing, like them going up to Armor 19 against blast with rapid healing, they might as well be immune to non-boosted blast damage.
Yeah, but at that point, if you're playing male Tharn, you're just reaching for Iona anyways. So.
I mean, but Baldur 1 could always do male Tharn.
Yeah.
Like, he was the
just
second best Tharn caster, yeah. And so I know the Europeans say he was even better than Iona.
Sure. Well, they've had legalized weed for a really long time, so.
Yeah, I never agreed with them. But next up is Bradagus, a blast from the past. His Stone Throw, instead of being rate of fire D3, is now rate of fire 1 with reload 2. So it's consistent, but technically it's a side grade.
Yeah, well, he was D3 before, right?
Yeah, he was D3.
So like that D3 shots, we've always complained about D3 anything in this game, except for Thamrites.
Yeah, except for Thamrites.
But I think getting reload 2 is nice, especially with getting the bump up on Fury. I don't know if Bradagus is like, if it's enough to kind of get him back on the table. I at least think like some people who are really interested in trying to play him might grab him a couple times, but competitively, I don't think that's enough to kind of pull him back to where he used to be.
I mean, going Fury 7, because that was the thing I was going to say after we talked about Stone Throw, is really big for him because now with the well, he suddenly has a 16-inch control area. So like that's a pretty big control area for a synergy caster. Even though synergy is like I know we've bitched about it before. It's like it justifiably got nerfed and never really recovered since then. And like having a 16-inch control area means he can at least play spread out a bit. And like almost all the wolds got better. So like that really helps him a lot. So I think like you could see him crop up here and there because Wold Watchers with the +1 POW and like their stone forms are still good with him.
Yeah, well, I think when for the small stint that I had some Circle in my possession, Bradagus was one that I was extremely excited about, but I think I kind of got turned off to him during the time where he was really busted with like the 3 units of stones just kind of getting you right away. So like Bradagus never got built in my collection, and I think like if I were ever to go over to the dark side and play some Circle, Bradagus would probably be the first thing I'd want to try.
No, he's fun. It's just really, I'm interested to see if he can come back, if his buffs can overcome the synergy cap, but he can still get a Construct Warbeast +3 to hit +5 POW with the Stone Shapers. So
yeah, that's pretty dang good.
Yeah, it's not bad. And everything in Bones got cheaper. So life's good for him.
Yeah, I think it's fine. So moving on to the Kayas now. So we get Kaya the Moon Hunter, which is Kaya 2.
Kaya 2.
Yep, the Kayas are the numbers are the weird ones for me. So the only thing she really gained was Field Marshal Unyielding. Now, I think that's neat. like she's a living Warbeast caster for sure. Like that's just what you do with her, I think. And unyielding is cool. Like as a troll player, I appreciate unyielding, but I don't know if it's enough for the Circle Warbeast to really make it feel amazing.
I know a lot of people are excited about it. Like getting Warp Wolves def 14 and then most of them are base 17 armor up to armor 19 is cute. But like their def 14 just isn't what it used to be. The real winners are of course Getarex and Loki, who both got cheaper. So now they're def 14 all of a sudden up to armor 21 with their shield or spiny growth respectively, which is not bad. It's just I would have liked some more changes on her. Like, I was really hoping she would get back her old alpha ability where Warbeast could run or charge for free. Like, I would have much rather had that than Unyielding. But Unyielding's not terrible. Like, it makes her Warbeast a little bit more survivable, where most living Warbeasts for Circle are kind of just made of tissue paper.
Yeah, I think when Loki first came out and we did the Circle of Orboros tournament in Madison, where all three of us, you, me, and Pastrami, brought Circle, and we did the conversions, right? So I think maybe none of us owned a real Loki because he was just so hard to get at that point because he was such a huge deal. Kaya 2 was in my pairing in that event, and I really did enjoy a lot of the things that she brought. She felt like a caster in Circle that was a little bit straightforward, but still had a few neat tools that she could do, or a few neat tricks really that she could kind of pull off. So Unyielding with her, I think, is probably a decent change, but I think it would have been neat to give her just a little bit more, like you said, something just a little more tasty.
Yeah, she just needs some. Like, my biggest problem with her has been, like, yes, the feat lets her spread out a bit, but she's a Fury 6 Warlock who wants a big Beast Brick, and, like...
There's no real way to control that in Circle.
No, and, like, on the spread scenarios now, it's so hard to, like, play her and play, like, on live scenarios well. But, like, I'll always appreciate, like, the Kaya 2 Avengers Assemble trick. Like, back in Mark 2, like, one of the only ways Circle could beat Lilith 2 was by literally running Laris to engage their caster and then teleporting your entire battle group to surround Lilith. Mm-hmm. Like, that shit was funny to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a small side note while we're talking about some of these casters is that I think we might get a little mopey on some of them, but one of the things that we have that we're not going to hit till later is, like, I think a lot of the buff happens around the living Warbeasts, right? With a lot of the changes they got. So, like, these casters that are still like Kaya 2, like, decent but not amazing, probably gets elevated a little bit just by the Warbeast changes.
Oh, for sure. Like, if it was just the caster change, I'd be, like, shitting all over it. But the living Warbeast changes are what make it playable. Mm-hmm. It's just there's still, like, a little bit of tweaks with them I would have liked. Yeah. Like, Kaya 1, she got Jumpstart, and Soothing Song became an ability baseline that, like, what happened with everybody. Like, she has a few issues, and, like, Jumpstart isn't what's going to fix it. Like, I played Kaya 1. I tried playing Kaya 1 competitively for, like, a year when I first started. Mm-hmm. And the first thing everyone said to me is, why aren't you playing Kaya 2? And I was like, fuck you. Kaya 1's my girl. And eventually even I had to give it up.
Yeah, you had to hang up that hat. Give up the ghost, so to speak. So I don't... Yeah, Kaya 1, like, the most, like... I don't know if you could call her probably one of the more, like, tilting battle box casters, like, at least in that era, because she, like, if you, like, she just, never mind, I forget that, like, Striker,
you forget
and
Striker 1 and Sorsha and Krios 1 and Denny 1. Yeah,
I guess on the Horde side. So the Horde's battle boxes got boned, except for the Circle one was decent.
Yeah, she was really good in battle box, and, like, she can really excel at low level games. Mm-hmm. So I think
she might be a brawl machine caster.
I think in brawl she can do some work.
Yeah,
but then you're still like, well, what about the other Kayas?
Exactly, yeah. So going on to the other Kayas, Kaya 3 ended up picking up the Soothing Song change, of course, but then gained Flashing Blade, which I think is cool for her. She's, like, kind of more of an aggressive caster, and she, like, at least in my understanding, she brings a lot of her like, battle group to bear a little bit like Kaya 2 does. So having Flashing Blade on her seems like a decent pickup, but again, I don't know if she changed enough to really, like, make me feel like she's going to see a lot of play.
I think with the Living Warbeast changes, she will. Flashing Blade on a Synergy caster is a thing, I guess, because, like, when she gets +3 POW, She's swinging at what, POW 16?
12 base up to 15.
So like that's not end of the world, but it's still like
It's enough
better
to get some work done, yeah.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. And I would have really appreciated Flashing Blade on Grail, but that's a different story. The Soothing Song thing is nice for her, so her Warbeast can kind of go in on feat turn and be really hot, and then they can be stripped at the end of the turn, so that really helps her order of activation issues. Because, like, unlike Kaya 1, Kaya always wanted to go last pretty much just for feat, to clear Fury, and for teleporting heavies. So Kaya 3 being able to activate first, swap her upkeeps to Synergy instead of having Fog of War. Like, I think the Soothing Song is a lot better of a change on her than Kaya 1.
Yeah, it feels nice. I think, like, Kaya, not to reminisce, but in the days when I was playing Circle for 4 games, I had ordered a Kaya 3 from one of our local game stores that took 3 months for it to show up. And by the time it got there, I had already gotten rid of the faction, so I never got a chance to put her on the table, and it's just sitting there in their warehouse somewhere.
Yeah.
So, Chromac 1. This
makes me mad.
Yeah,
like
so you're like Chromac the guy.
I loved Chromac 1. He was one of my favorite casters in the entire game, and he got +2 Warbeast points, which just makes me mad because he needed so much more.
I think he needs a redesign, and I know that, like, we kind of, like, Faye had kind of mentioned that, you know, there's some of the changes here were supposed to be like they say, quality of life changes. We do see that there's a lot of things that changed in this dynamic update that got reworked pretty significantly, but Chromac, I don't know, like, they might as well have just not put this change in here and it would have been the same. Like, I just don't see why getting +2 Warbeast points is somehow quality of life upgrade for him.
I mean, it's nice because he's a beast caster and he usually takes a lot of beasts, but when they started spoiling synergistic magic, I told myself I wasn't going to get my hopes up for the update, but then they were spoiling some decent things.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if Chromac, I thought maybe he might be our synergistic magic caster, or at least finally he could get corpses, and then him and Chromac 2 could spend corpses to upkeep spells. Like, and that would help Chromac.
Tharn.
Yeah, maybe.
That would have been a good one.
Well, I mean, they are Tharn. They just don't have rapid healing like all of the Tharn. Like, Chromac just has so many upkeeps. Like, he has 3 upkeeps and Bestial, so he wants to cast them all. Yeah, he can take a Wilder and upkeep one of them, but, like, most turns he's camping 2 or 1, and that's him not casting any other spells besides Bestial. Like, in a perfect world, I would have wished for Resourceful, but I feel like that's asking too much. So I was like, maybe corpses, maybe his feet stops fucking half healthing him to transform. Yeah. Like, he has the worst Fury focus replenishment feat in the game. Like, there's like 4 or 5 of them, and none of them half kill your caster just because he can get 16 attacks on an opposing caster at POW 13 if your opponent leaves their caster within 13 inches, which with pre-measure, like, it's not a thing. Like, I used to catch some people off guard in Mark II, and that was with me eyeballing the distance because you couldn't really measure it. So, like, there's just so, like, he's my biggest disappointment in the update. Not to say it's all bad. I just, like, I really, really wanted him to get better and not just the beasts he's taking.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on to probably the cream of the crop of Circle, Kruger just got the tap from Windstorm where now you can't get any worse than range 8. So I don't think this really, like, makes him not takeable. Like, he's still an amazing warlock, and Windstorm is still a good spell that you'll want to cast if you're playing into the right matchups for it. Like, I don't think that saving yourself from range 8 guns was, like, the big reason for playing Windstorm.
No, like, in fact, like, I don't think Kruger 2 leaves a pairing still, because, like, there's a few changes elsewhere in the update where I think you almost need Kruger still.
Yeah.
But it's more of, like, those range 7, like, you can finally play Tharn in the mirror match, and actually Blood Trackers can shoot their guns, because range 2 is just sad.
Yeah.
It really affects things like the Sloan matchup, where if they had Minutemen, like, gunfighter shots, like slug guns, those kind of things. So, like, there's a few matchups that got a little bit worse for Kruger, but it kind of got worse overall for the whole game. So it's just like now you have to get used to Kruger still being our best anti-ranged caster, but now he's just not as good at it as before.
Yeah, he doesn't, like, shove their face in the snow mound.
No, like, Sloan can still get iffy now, even though like her hunters were shooting more than 8 inches anyway, so the minimum doesn't matter. It's more of like the Minutemen.
Yep. So now we get to move on to probably one of your more janktastic casters.
Oh, I love Mozar. Yeah, I'm really happy with his changes.
Yeah.
For him, it was just maltreatment. Now it's just anytime during the activation phase, which is like kind of a wash for him because he always wanted to maltreat before he activates so he can have the extra fury for teleporting, casting spells, but it's still nice to be able to do it at the end of the turn.
Yeah, you just get the versatility.
Yeah, it's versatility. I really love Sunhammer becoming D3 plus 1 damage, and it's enemy non-warrior models in the battle group, so that means Battle Engine casters, Man in the Machine, Karchev 2, Beth 2, they all take D3 plus 1 damage now, which isn't like against the casters. It's like, woo, you spend a focus. But like that's still like one less focus they have each turn.
Yep.
And like now it works on horrors, it works on monstrosities, it works on the other thing I don't remember.
Horrors, monstrosities, and vector. No, it always worked on vectors.
Yeah, but D3 plus 1, whereas before it was just D3 was always like, I rolled a 1. Woo.
Yeah. D3 plus 1 is much, much better.
Yeah, it's much more consistent, especially since he has such a large control area. Like, he was already the best Sunhammer caster, all like 2 of them. But I am shocked there's no Pillars of Salt update because every time there's an update, they got to fix Pillars of Salt. So... yeah. Like, I'm still expecting one to come eventually because that's just such a hot mess.
I half expected them to remove it from his card and get rid of it from the game.
No, you can't. I love that spell. I miss stacking it on each other.
Yep.
And that, like, 1 month period where it was a model and you could contest with it from 16 inches away was so dumb.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. So, Morvana the Autumn Blade, Morvana 1, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
She just got the update for Sack Pawn. Real sad to not see any changes outside of that with her or Morvana too. Like, I think they needed some effort.
Morv 1 is still like really good. Like
I think she's just so one-dimensional though.
I mean, she suffers into things that RFP. Like that's her biggest weakness.
Yeah.
Like she's still regrowth. Like after her last updates where regrowth can affect medium base units, like she's still like a really, really solid Tharn caster. Like, it would have been nice if she got something, but I honestly don't know what she needs. Morv 2 is the one, like...
yeah, Morvana 2 is the one that I'd like to see get more work done because she just has kind of fallen off the radar in every way possible.
Yeah, since her Mark 2 days. I really wish she could still feedback solos. Part of me was kind of hoping she'd be able to feedback solos, but maybe with some of the units getting cheaper, it's still okay. Like, I know some people are still trying to make her work in Tharn, but, like, maybe reverting scales to be transferable again. So like now it used to be if you rolled a 3 you could at least like, okay, I'm going to shunt this off to my Gorax, but now it's just like those rolls add up and like her, unlike say Harby, her healing doesn't keep up with it, because I think that's like the closest comparison is to somebody who spends their HP as a thing, because Harby can at least like heal herself 11 boxes a turn. Morv typically needs to be casting Animi, upkeeping spells, and camping because she doesn't have a million shield guards, even though Harvey kind of lost that, but that's a different debate. So, like, yeah, I kind of wish Morv 2 got something, but I'm not shocked that Morv 1 didn't. And then next up is the Wormwood changes, which are super good. He lost Prowl and gained Just a Tree, ? And Just a Tree is, this model is not a living model, and while it has concealment, it gains stealth. So it regained Prowl, just rolled into a different rule, and it is no longer a living model, so you can't Bloodthirst the tree, and you can't do like things that affect living models like Dragon's Breath rockets or Vindicators, like little things like that, which is nice. I just wish it wasn't like, I get the point of the rule, like Just a Tree is supposed to be like, oh, why? This is just a tree. Why would you target it? But that makes me think more of like, why doesn't it have something like low priority? Because the Gallows Grove got the same thing.
So this is like a bugbear of mine that I really don't appreciate that they've decided to put into the game right now, is I freaking hate seeded rules. So like, in addition to Prowl just kind of being in this thing, it's also Prowl but not Prowl. And it's got the living model, like, it has another rule saying that it's not a living model within it. So like, I really don't Like that's what a seeded rule is, right? It's one rule that has separate rules within it that could just be put on the card in general. And maybe that's just me being a butt about it, but I just think I just hate seeded rules. They're stupid.
I mean, like, it could easily just kept Prowl, and then just a tree was, this is not a living model. Like,
yeah. It also is, like, a little too cutesy. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's just me and my, like, the Riot Quest, ticks that I get every now and again, but just a tree just seems like it's too cutesy of a rule.
It does, like, when you say just a tree, it does sound like a Riot Quest rule.
Yeah.
To be honest. No, I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah.
So now we get to the beefy parts of this update.
Yeah, the good changes.
Yeah. These are the good goods. So, some of this, like the Argus Moonhound changing or dropping a point is whatever, but like
hey, that really helps my Kruger 1 double Storm Raptor list.
Well, sure, but let's the Argus Moonhound, sure, cool, 1 point less, whatever. But like now we're getting into like the big buffs for the rest of the living beasts. So like Brenos the Elderhorn goes up 1 strength. His POW plus strength is up by 1 too. So like I guess it's just +1 strength, and then they had to change the numbers. But he also goes down a point, so like not terrible. Like I don't think Brenos was like really being taken a whole bunch.
I mean, he's always pretty much taken with more of 1, and like he's a good beast. Like his Animus is really good.
Yeah.
His bond with her is amazing, so that's why he's almost always taken with more of 1. So like it's a nice quality of life change for Morv, and like the fact that he's not such an old man. Like POW 14 was just kind of bad on him before, but now POW 15, like it's not great. But it's still like it's better.
The problem with that is like, yeah, he gets the +1, but like Primal went down to +1, so like it's kind of a wash a little bit. So maybe Brenos isn't the most exciting change in the universe, but the Feral Warpwolf gets some cool changes at least.
Oh yeah, that went down 2 points to 14 and got +1 strength. So now it's base claws are 16, that bites 15, and then the new Primal, I think we talked about with the trolls, is now just +1 strength and mat. And you don't auto frenzy, so now the Primal actually works, rules as written, because old Primal did not work without an Infernals ruling.
Yeah,
which was really like I always hated that.
That's like one of the things that I think that made playing Circle difficult was that they really did put a lot of value in Primal. And since your living war beasts were like kind of a bit more of a focus, it was like, well, you just shoot them in and then let them go ham for 1 round, and then it'll probably just die. But at least now, if it doesn't, you at least don't have to worry about it auto frenzying next turn, which I think is valuable.
It's really valuable, because before it was like you said, yeah, am I sending in a living heavy? Guess I got to Primal it and hope it kills more than its points, because my opponent's going to ignore it, kill something else, and then kill it the next turn.
Yeah, it's like a weird peace trade. Like it just doesn't feel right, or doesn't feel good.
I just wish Primal would have went down to 1 cost.
Yeah,
because it does really feel like it's pushing you to play in Wild Hunt for the neg 1 cost.
Secret Masters, like no Wild Hunt.
Wild Hunt, so that way it's only a 1 cost Animus, but it would be much nicer if it was free. Because this is just +1/+1. It's no Rage. Like this and Rage are still the same cost animi.
That does feel off. I honestly, since I don't use Primal hardly ever, the fact that it's 2 eluded me. So like I'm even now more salty about the Mountain King.
Yeah, as he should be. But Gedorex went down in points, and like he got a +1 POW. Now he's just swinging a POW 18 without Primal.
And he was usually not your target for Primal when he was going in anyways. So like these numbers are really good for him.
Yeah, he's got legit numbers. Gnarl Horns are down to 10 whole points. Like I hate that they went down to Fury 3 for the goats, but I can live with the fact that he's only 10 points.
10 point heavy is nuts.
Like even if he is only like POW 15 on his horns, or POW 15, POW 16, like I can live with that. It's just like he's cheap, his Animus is good, and like maybe that's enough for him.
Yeah.
Even Goraxes went down a point, which they probably could have used more than 1 point, because you were really only ever taking them for Primal, and Primal like got worse, better. I mean, I don't miss old Primal. I'm perfectly fine with new Primal if it would have went down to 1.
Yeah.
Loki going down 4 points is huge.
That's a big
Oh
dump.
my god, so good. Like finally down 4 points, went up a strength, so now his Throne Hook is POW 16 base, and drag changed, so it's only on hit. My only complaints about Loki is I've been desperate for his Animus to be Far Strike
yeah.
for so long, because pre-Theme Machine that would have been like broken on Kruger, but like just like it synergizes with Tanith's kit. Like Tanith wants to shoot her single shotgun and she wants snipe.
At one point in time, I thought that Far Strike on Loki would be too much, but nowadays I think that it probably would have been just fine.
Yeah, pre-Theme Machine, where it was with every Kruger list, every Wormwood list, like it probably would have been too much. And even like it's just one of those things where his animi is just kind of doubled up on what we've already have. So it would have been nice to have something that cool, unique. Like I'm a big fan of character Warbeasts having unique animi for the faction.
Yeah, and it kind of fits into like what I think you take like one of the other big attracting features of Warbeasts in general is, especially in Circle, like having a diverse having Warbeasts that you take specifically for their access to their animus to bring more diversity to your list, or more interest to your list, is probably where I would have really liked Circle to put some more faction identity on, or put more, or just kind of bring that up a little bit. And Loki just having, not having that animus kind of is rough.
Yeah, pretty much there's 4 animi that exist in Circle, like Earth's Blessing, Primal, Blast.
Yeah, with the Feral getting Primal too, like they just kind of streamlined it.
Yeah. But like I said, he's really nice. He's actually playable now. He jumped to themes. Now he's in Wild Hunt.
And you talked about the drag buff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was too
where it's
busy
going on
farting
hit
around with my dog.
So now he just needs to boost a hit, and he doesn't have to boost damage to get the drag, so that helps his fury efficiency. Like, really good changes for him. Like I do have some complaints about the Warp Wolves, like, but I guess like after seeing Melvin and Mayhem, I really, really wanted, especially the Feral, to have like a hit the button, like a spontaneous warp ability where he could do all of them at once.
Yeah.
Because like the Feral Warp Wolf to me still has the issue of, yes, he can be Steed 8, yes, he can be +2 strength, yes, he can be armor 18, but he can only be one of those things. So like if you're threatening far, you're not hitting as hard, and you're arm 16 heavy.
It would have been, honestly, like, since the Primal lost its auto frenzy thing, it would have been another cool piece of identity to say that like the Feral could just auto do all of its warps, but then frenzy next turn.
I don't want that.
It just would have been a neat thing.
I would have been fine with taking D3 damage per extra warp. Something cute like that. Like he has regenerate. It would have been nice just to be able to do like all of them at once. Like I've just been playing a lot of Melvin and Mayhem and Mercs and stuff, so I guess I can appreciate where you can get all of the abilities.
Busted ass things where you get all your stuff and get to eat your cake.
Hey,
or you get your abilities. And
that's the reason. Like I haven't played a Feral all this edition, because I was like, well, if I want a Primal bot, I'm going to take a Gorax, and I don't want this heavy that like yes can be fast, yes can get hard, yes can be tanky, but that's all it's doing.
No, I get it.
And then it's just not great at what it does. But now with the updates, like I might actually play one, and I'm excited for that.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
So Megalith comes up next, where he drops 3 points, which is significant.
That's a big change.
Yeah, that's a big deal, because Megalith already is just good in general. Like, I don't think there's a Bones list that exists out there that doesn't have him in it.
No, he's auto including Bones. Like, he's so good.
So getting that extra 3 points is a big deal. But then Bountiful Restoration changed a little bit. I think the only thing that changed was the 1 inch thing.
Yeah, it just went up to 1 inch. Like most things in the game that was base to base, now it's 1 inch, which is cute. Lets you space out a little bit more. But the big thing is, like 20, he did drop out of a lot of lists because 20 points was just so much for him. But now 17 is really respectable with his sweet Animus, his Weight of Stone Fists. Like, he's good again. I'm excited to play him. Purebloods went down 2 points and got +1 strength. So, like, they're okay again. But most of the time, I was only really taking them for their Animus.
Yeah, Wraithbane is decent. I don't know if it's as important as it used to be.
Probably not. But, like, his spray is good. Him being able to, like, warp strength to PS 17 is nice. Like, before, whenever I'd get him into melee, just PS 16 with warping strength just never felt good. And then, like, a Razorwing Griffin went up a POW. Like, a lot of the Warbeasts for changes for Circle were, like, +1 POW, +1 strength just to compensate for Primal.
Yeah.
So it's, like, a lot of small tweaks in there just mean you don't need Primal as much, even though you're still going to take it, because that's really the only damage Animus you have.
Yeah, it's kind of making it so, one of the things people talk about with Trolls sometimes is the armor values, and like how the stone balances out the armor being not what you would expect it to be, where now, like with Circle, you're like, Primal was the thing that was balancing against how tough the living Warbeast could get, and now without that being so much of a factor, it's kind of nice.
It is nice, but I'm still gonna be casting it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
use it.
I'm not gonna take a living Warbeast brick and not take a Primal Bot and
Yeah.
not cast it on my Warbeasts that are going in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I like the idea of not having to do it, but I'm still gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, it's just a nice to have the option again. So the Razorwing Griffin just got a small change to compensate for the primal switch up to where it just goes up +1 POW or +1 POW +1 POW with just the blades. So not a huge big deal there.
But I mean, the Razorwing can do POW 12 tramples now.
Yeah,
which is cute. Like POW 11 was still okay. POW 12 was definitely better, especially when it's Animus Amok. Like, I'd like to try and squeeze some more in the list. I just wish they would have kind of went down in cost, because now with the heavies getting cheaper.
Yeah, it's really hard to justify taking the Griffins in general when the satyrs are so cheap.
Yeah, for 3 points more, I can get a Gnarlhorn, which is just so good. And
speaking of goats, we got the Riphorn going down to 3, which personally to me, I think that they didn't really need to do anything else with him.
Yeah, he's like he went down 3 points to 11. Like, that's super solid. Like, I was always mad. He was my favorite satyr in Mark II. I was mad he went down the Fury 3, but he still has aggressive, still has chain attack, smash and grab, still has POW 16s on his fists. So like, you can primal him, get him up to POW 17, and then you can chain attack headbutt for POW 16. Like, he's super solid, and I'm excited to get him in some Chromac lists or Kaya. Like, him with Kaya 2's Field Marshal is suddenly armor 21.
Yeah.
Like, I really think Riphorns with Kaya are going to be fun. And, like, jumping back to what we talked about, Kaya, like, the Kaya change on its own isn't exciting.
Yeah.
But the fact that now these things got cheaper, and now like Riphorns are good, so now I'm gonna take them with her, so now they can really benefit from her kit.
No, absolutely. So another Griffin, we got the Rotterhorn also going up another POW again,
which I don't like. It doesn't exist to me.
Yeah, no, that thing's not.
I really wish it had gotten its old Animus back. Its old Animus Mark II was a model could do a star action at the end of its activation, so like a Blackclad could do its teleport thing after doing a Hunter's Mark. Druids could do a Cloud after doing Force Bolt. Like, it was a really big thing for the faction back then. It was super fun, super unique, and then they took it away for its Shriek.
Yeah, which isn't all that big of a deal. We can skip over the Shadowhorn to talk about the Scarsfell also. It's because it got the same change. Nothing crazy here.
Just went up to POW 12.
Yep. So now we'll go back to the Shadowhorn, who went down to 10 flipping points and also went up +1 strength and POW on his weapons.
Yep. So now he's POW 15 base on his horns and POW 14 on the claws. Like, it's not great, but the Shadowhorn going up +1 strength is super nice, because that's the throw goat, the judo goat. So like, he's gonna walk, he's gonna leap, he's gonna punch, do a two-handed throw, or just do a two-handed throw.
He's the one with the long horns that go up, right? Yeah.
He's the one with set defense. And
my favorite one is the one
reversal.
With the curly horns, the slam one.
Yeah, the Gnarlhorn.
Yeah.
But no, I think the goats are in a really good place, in the Shadowhorn. That +1 strength, like, instead of say +1 PS on its weapons, is much more appreciated than on the other goats.
Yeah.
Just for its throw shenanigans.
Absolutely.
And now it's so cheap. Before, it used to be 12 points, which wasn't like expensive, but for a throwaway heavy that's just going to chuck something back at you and probably die.
Yeah, a throwaway heavy that is Fury 3.
Yeah.
Like, I've always really liked the goats and wanted to see more of them in circle lists, and I think now is the time where we'll start to see them.
Oh no, I think definitely goats are going to be seen. I don't know, like, it's hard. Like, the argument between goats and warpwolves have always been like the big debate for living heavies, because like the warpwolves have all the extra versatility, the higher POW, but they pay for it. Like, now a warpwolf stalker is 15 points, so it's 4 more points than a Riphorn, but you get +1 fury, +2 POW, because it went up +1 strength.
It just depends on what you're trying to do. Like, I know you talked a little bit about Kaya 3, but with goats just seem really, really gnarly. So next up then was just more the Storm Raptor got the same change for flying high that everything else did. It's more like the way Kruger's thing is, to where the range 8 guns aren't affected by his neg 3, which I know it's not I don't think it's the biggest deal in the universe, but
I mean, it was, say if you were a Kruger 2 player playing with a Storm Raptor,
Yeah,
like,
and then you'd stack them.
yeah, you'd get -8 range on the guns, so now all of a sudden, like, now the guns, if you played that list, I never got to play it, but I did play it once in Secret
like
Masters.
double birds or something. I thought
Not with
once.
Kruger 2.
Oh.
I always
Oh, it
played
was
double
Una,
birds with Kruger
yeah.
1.
Oh.
But yeah, like if you're playing a Storm Raptor in Secret Masters with Kruger 2, you'll definitely feel that minimum range 8 reduction cap working on the bird.
Yeah. So the Stalker is the last Warp Wolf that we are going to hit. So he's down, like I believe you said 15. He's down to 15 points, which is off to pretty decent. He got the same buff for his strength to balance out the primal change, but nothing else changed on him otherwise, and I think that's fine for the most
Being
part.
PS 18 base,
Yeah.
like that's legit. And then you warp strength to PS 20. Like I thought for sure they were gonna give him +1 mat for his berserk.
Yeah.
But like he can still berserk at mat 6, and then you primal to mat 7. So like that feels really nice. Being able to primal him to hit infantry better for berserk is a godsend. Like I love Stalkers. They were my favorite Warp Wolf in Mark II. And like his greatsword, like he's just an armor cracking heavy with reach. I can't build a living circle list without a Warp Wolf Stalker.
Yeah, I don't think that'll change at all for sure. Moving on to some more Argus. The Wild Argus went down 1 point, and then the Winter Argus went up to Rat 5 from Rat 4, and then down to 7 points. So these are not the frickin' auto hit Animus guys, right?
Yeah, the Wild Argus is the Def 5 one.
Oh, gotcha. So it's nice to see him drop down at least, because that is a really nice toolboxy animi, especially for someone like Mozar. I think you've done that trick a few times where you'll Sands of Fate him up and then just do the little Argus bark, and then that's my caster. So that's neat. The Winter Argus was the one that's a little more tanky, right? And then he's got a spray that comes with him.
Yeah, he's got a crit stationary spray. So going up to Rat 5 and fishing for those crits is nice.
I still think 7 points might be a little too much for him, but I think that mostly comes from his Animus.
Yeah, his Animus is a winter coat, so stationary if you're within 2. He used to have a +2 arm Animus in Mark II.
Okay, then that's the one I was thinking of, because I was like, oh yeah, Chromac with the Winter Argus. That's how disconnected I am from Circle.
I know, like Winter Argai with Kaya 3 spam was like a thing for a while, so like it could come back. Like I think Kaya 3 with a bunch of cheaper Argai, cheaper goats, maybe a cheaper Satyr here and there, or not cheaper Stalker or Warp Wolf, just to like,
just
be
to
the
have
anchor.
one anchor, yeah.
Especially now that I believe Getarex and Loki are in Wild Hunt, so like she can play in Wild Hunt, get Getarex still, and Loki. Like that's pretty legit for her kit. Like not to jump back to the casters, but this is where like these Warbeast changes are what's elevating the casters and not the changes to the caster themselves.
So now we can start hitting in the Wolds, and the two changes that are whatever is like the Wold Guardian and the Wold White had their updates for Shield Guard, but the Wold White went down to 4 points and over 5, which sure, fine. I don't know. I know for a while the Wold Whites were being taken in mass, but I don't know if that's changed at all.
I mean, like they really only taken by Bradagus.
Yeah.
Just for really, really, really cheap synergy builders. So like I think they can still see a place there. Like at 4 points, yeah, you can throw in 3 of them and like boom, there's your easy synergy starters. They're shield guards, like they're exactly what Bradagus wants. I do wish the Wold Guardian had got a point reduction to go with it, because like it's still it's cost 16, so like he is the most expensive Warbeast
He's
in
like,
Circle now.
What now? 1 point behind Megalith.
Yeah,
That's
like
it.
Megalith
Like,
is
he's
1
not-
point more expensive.
Yeah, he's not 1 point less worth a Megalith.
He is the most expensive non-character Warbeast in Circle, non-Gargantuan.
Yeah.
But like, he's speed 4. Like, I just wish he would have went down at least a point just to kind of match, because also the Wold Warden went down a point, so now he's only 13. So he's 3 points less than a Wold Guardian.
And the Wardens were already being taken anyways, so like getting back to your Kruger 2 talk, like that's 5 extra points in his list.
Yeah, like that's really good. And like Wardens, of course, aren't as hard hitting as Guardians, but they actually threaten farther because they're not speed 4. Like Guardians still are the only Warbeast in Circle that threaten farther teleporting than they do charging. They threaten the same. Every other Warbeast charges and threatens farther than a Stoneport.
So we got the Wold Watcher going up a strength. So that's the only change that happened there, and I don't.
It's a good change for Balder and for Bradagus, and that's pretty much it. Because those were the only casters you ever saw him with.
And then we got the Wold Wrath, probably the biggest point reduction in this entire update.
Yeah, out of nowhere, -6 points,
Yeah.
and its weapons become magicals. Because it used to be the only Wold that didn't have magical fists, and like that's a really nice change. It's a really nice stopgap, but I still think it needs something. Like
he's probably the worst colossal in the game, so like making him cheaper doesn't make him more attractive. I think like sure you'll save some points if you wanted to take him, but like in general I just don't think he's like really putting up the numbers in terms of like desirability.
Well, he only has one single shot. It's AoE 5. It's a hazard, which is cute. His fists are only POW 19. Like his fists only have one higher PS than a Wold Guardian.
Yeah, that's pretty
and his
bad.
fists are the size of a Wold Guardian. Like Wold Guardians are tiny.
Yep.
Like I really wish he had gotten a POW increase, because like yes, you can take the Stone Shapers for +2 strength on him, but then he's still only hitting a POW 21. Like Wartborn Stalkers now hit harder than him before buffs, and like you're gonna see like Baldur 2 might come back. I know some people are excited. I made some Baldur 2 lists. Like Baldur 2 Wold Wraths were pretty much the only times you saw Wold Wraths.
Yep, absolutely. So a change that I did not see coming at all was Wold Weirds going down a point. That beast is already good, was good at 9 points, and going down to 8 points, I think it's not like it unbalances it or anything. I just didn't expect them to do that.
Yeah, I mean it's a Fury 2 beast, and its guns are really good. Like it's been carrying bones for a long time. Like I used to run 3-4 Wold Weird lists.
Yeah.
And not hate it.
No, a good change at least for Circle, but like I said, I didn't see this one coming at all. Probably one of the changes that I like the most, at least for the faction right now, is the Celestial Fulcrum going down 3 points and up 5 boxes. I don't know what it is about this one. I just really think it's a neat model, a neat concept, and just getting a little bit more durable and cheaper. Maybe you might see them on the table. I think you have opposite feelings of that, though.
No, I really like the Fulcrum is was the first battle engine I ever painted. I love that thing. It was in the first fully painted list I ever played, and like it going down.
Last.
I know I played a fully painted pairing twice, but it going up a little bit more survivable, and it going down is nice because like you did really the well kind of replaced Fulcrums. I don't know if the point reductions like it could have went down more, to be honest, just because like 10-point wells exist, and like my love-hate with the Fulcrum is the fact that yes, it has a boosting mechanic, so like that puts it towards the upper end of battle engines, but its boosting mechanic isn't really internal. Like it takes extra points of War Beast. So now like yes, I can spend 16 points on Wold Weirds, 2 of them just to fuel the Fulcrum all game, but that's still points on War Beasts that aren't fueling my Warlock. And like the people I talked to were like, "Oh, well you're going to take them anyway." Well, yeah, but I'm taking War Beasts to fuel my Warlock, so like in Secret Masters, when you're not spamming War Beasts, like the Fulcrum's just a little bit harder to fuel. Yeah. Compared to in Bones, when it's like, well, yeah, I'm taking all these War Beasts, so it doesn't matter. I just really wish it could generate its own Fury, and then it would have the staple, a stamp of my approval.
Gotcha. So speaking of the well, the change that it got was that it can't summon any non-living models anymore. You can only summon living non-character faction solos. So like the only thing that really gets hit by is the Gallows Grove not being able to be taken, which I think is something that a lot of Circle players are going to not appreciate.
I don't know how many people were using it. I know I used it pretty much every other game. I'd be summoning a Gallows Grove.
Yeah, because you can do cool tricks with it.
Yeah,
and
like
you get to project a lot of threat with your spells like this in the early game. But
and getting an entropic force aura out there was super nice.
Yeah, so I don't know if this needed really to happen. I think maybe they might have seen something go on that they didn't appreciate and decided to pull it.
Kruger.
Yeah.
Like it's like the big thing was with Kruger, you get to summon a tree within 3, it places itself within 5, and then all of a sudden from your well you got +8 inches and then +10 on a Gallows or 8 on a TK, so you could TK something 16 inches away from a well.
Yeah, well, Thorn can do that just by running and extending threat further, so I don't think this was something that needed to happen.
No, I don't think it needed to. I don't know. I would like to hear from them why they did it, and if it was more than just because Kruger 2.
Yeah.
Because I don't like that excuse.
Me neither. So moving on to the solos, there aren't a whole ton of changes here that are extremely impactful. I mean, like, it's point reductions for the most part. We already talked about the Gallows Grove getting the just a tree rule and getting rid of Prowl, but like the Stone Shaper and the Wayfarer both went down a point. I think the Stone Shaper was in Bones. Isn't he a 2 for 1 rec option?
Yes.
So I don't think that really, like, maybe you might find some rec options that you'll take instead because he's just a little cheaper now.
I mean,
like,
there's not many rec options in Bones that are worth 5, because before you would take double stones or the Sentry Stones, so that's probably what you're still doing. It is nice if you don't want those other options, and then basically it makes the third one only cost 2 points.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like I'm probably going to take Sentry Stones or the double Shifting Stones instead, but I think Shifting Stones went down in cost.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's still like a viable rec option after your 2 Sentry Stones, and it just makes the third one cheaper.
Yeah. So the Lord of the Feast then went down enough of a point, or went down 1 point, which still lets him fit into a lot of their rec option language now, which I think is good because, like, the Lord of the Feast is not like the terror that he used to be, but still a decent model that you might want as a rec option.
No, he's cool. It's just like I was cutting him out of my list for a while because there were like
Better recs.
It's just like, yeah, he did get gutted, and then like you compared him to a lot of the power solos that were rec options, like Scythe.
Yeah,
and
but you got
Executioners. Like now that they're not rec options, he might be a little bit more appealing because he is probably on the higher scale of rec solos these days.
Well, and your Riot Quest stuff got just poked a little bit too, so like Kogan might not be.
Well, Kogan can't be free anymore. He's 6 points.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's the thing. That's where Lord of the Feast is actually probably more appealing, just as a Grievous Wounds bot, and like even with his nerf bird and nerf sword.
Mm-hmm. Still decent.
Yeah, still like good again. Not good again, but probably worth taking a rec slot on just to kind of compensate for all of his nerfs because he is on the upper end of rec options these days.
All right. And then we got the Reeve Hunter, which I think you're feeling decent about the Reeve Hunter.
I'm feeling okay with it. It gives Gunfighter, so the crossbow dudes can shoot their guns in melee. They're now POW 10, so they shoot better in melee than they melee. It's just... I don't know if they cut the leadership for quick work or it's gunfighter and quick work. And if they cut gunfighter or quick work, I'm actually going to be sad.
It doesn't look like they cut anything.
Nope, they get gunfighter and quick work, which is really nice.
No, that's legit. Bless you. Yeah.
Which is really nice with Tanith, which was where you saw the Reeves before, because with Affliction, they could punch somebody, then quick work and shoot their crossbows, and their crossbows have also gone up to POW 10. So like I really like the Reeve Hunter change, and it works really well. Like I used to like slotting him into a list just for a Sikkim trigger.
Yeah.
And because I love Sikkim, I love werewolves. So like I like the changes on him. I like the gunfighter and quick work leadership. Like if you're running Reeves, he's an auto include, and if you're running max werewolves, he's an auto include.
And speaking of werewolves, we'll jump ahead a little bit. They just went up 1 arm, which, like, whoop-de-doo, I guess. Like, I don't think going up 1 arm really, like, changes going from 12 to 13. Like, that's not a big deal. It's just a thing.
It's a thing. Now they're 13 with 5 boxes, so like they might survive a POW 10 shot on average.
Yeah, or a charge from a doofus. Like, you know, you never know.
I mean, a
like,
charge is going to kill him.
Well, if it's like a charging Cossite.
Yeah. But like they might survive a random POW 10, whereas before on average dice a POW 10 just killed him. So like it's a change.
Yeah.
It's not one, like they didn't really need anything. They just normally for me they run, you shoot something, they sick them charge out of activation, and then they die. Kind
of feels like a waste of typing. But Una, we'll work back up. We'll switch it up here. So Una went down 1 point. I think a lot of the lessers went down a little bit in general, and having her for 3 points means again that she might come out of that rec option if you were ever taking her, so you actually pay for her instead. So like that's not terrible.
It's not terrible. It's just you don't really see Una outside of the niche
birds.
Yeah, the bird list. Like you see her running a Storm Raptor, or if you're me, you put 2 Storm Raptors on her because it's funny.
Yep.
Even though they did nerf that list a while ago. But yeah, her going down a point is nice. It's just she didn't lose her affinity unlike Horgle. So she can only take the birds and like the lights. Yeah, they went up a pow, but she's only Fury 4, so she only has an 8-inch control area. So it's still kind of like you really don't want a melee light on her. Mm-hmm. So you still want a Storm Raptor because at least a huge base can stay in her control a little bit.
Yeah,
so like Una's just in a weird spot
for sure. The Tharn Wolf Rider champion went down 1 point, and when I played with them, I enjoyed them. I don't know if they're still. I don't think they're still rec options though.
No,
so
they
like
lost it.
I don't know if these are 6 points worth taking.
I mean, they weren't even taken at free.
Yeah.
Like I think most people cut Wolf Rider champions out of their lists after a while, even as rec options. So like they had to go down. It's like maybe in a world where other stuff isn't free, you might see them, but I just like because they like on their own they're decent. It's just they're made of paper, and I mean they're 15-14 with annoyance and backstab. Like they should be good.
Yeah, but for whatever reason they're just not hitting the mark.
Yeah, it's just normally in Tharn you want like most of my Tharn rec options pre-update were
they're
Ravager Chieftains.
Supports, yeah. Support and UAs.
Yeah. So and that's pretty much what all my ones are now. It's just like double Ravager Chieftains. Like those are my rec options.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. The last one for solos is Wolflord Morag went up to armor 19, and I think a lot of this was because they couldn't actually like give him a real shield.
Yeah, there was a few solos, Morag being one of them, that were supposed to get a shield attack and get a shield, but they couldn't update War Room for that, so instead he got +2 armor, which
I think he probably could have needed a little bit more, though.
He needed more than that. He definitely needed the point decrease or something, because he's still
I think he's
an 8-point Dragoon.
He's got to be the worst Dragoon in the game.
Like, he lost Weapon Master because he has Flank, and, like, he has Vet Leader and Cleave, like... Before, like, even now, like, he can flank off of his mount, so his, like, impact attacks can flank, but, like, he doesn't have Tactician, so, like... He's always seemed like a worse Stannis Brocker to me, and like he should be cute. Like I used to like playing him in Mark II. It's just like 8 points is just so expensive for what he does.
Yeah, he's probably, like I said, I think he's the worst of the character Dragoons that cycle. Like I can't think of one that is worse than him.
No, that's fair.
So. Onto the units then. Brigade and Call, just update for Shield Guard, nothing big there. Death Wolves are probably the second biggest change for the units, I think. And that's just that they gain the Cannibal Magic just lets you start with a corpse token, which I think is a really big deal for them.
Yeah, that's huge. Being able to play them outside of Tharn and actually start with corpses is very, very nice. Because before it used to be you just had to play them in Tharn. Like, you could put them in Wild Hunt, but then it's like, well, now I got to take a well.
And the chances of getting all 3 Death Wolves loaded up on a corpse, at least to start doing what they like, doing their work, like, you're probably going to lose 1 or 2 of them before that happens.
Unless you're running the turn 1 kill your own dudes to fill them up trick with the...
Yeah.
I did have a list with, like, Grail with Death Wolves and Wild Hunt where it's like, okay, I take my Merc unit is the Bokurran Shamblers, and turn 1 you shoot the 10 Shamblers, and then you fully load Brigade and Call and the Death Wolves. Oh, this was in Tharn. And, like, it was a cute... Now you really don't have to do that, and I like that. No,
it's neat. The next, probably the bigger rework of the units is the Druid Mist Riders. They got a big points dunk. They went down 2 and 4 points for the min and max unit. They went up to Mat 6, up to Magic Ability 7. They gained Prowl and Immunity Electricity, and still I don't think this unit's good.
It's not. Like, it's... The problem they have is, like, they lost... I think they got Chain Lightning. They used to have, like, these cool slam spells. Yeah, they have Chain Lightning. Because I remember for a hot minute when the Moss Sayer, when this pillar was a model, you could Chain Lightning off of it, but you can't do that anymore. But, like, their buffs are nice. Like, being Mat 5 before with Battle Wizard was terrible, even on a horse. So now, like, their magic... They're mat 6, so they get boosted to hit on the charge. Magic ability 7, so they're basically back to what they should have been originally because Druids used to be magic ability 7. So, like, that's nice. Gaining immunity to electricity means they can't kill themselves with E-leaps. So, like, all bunch of small little changes, but doesn't really fix the overarching issue of the theme they're in because the theme is pretty much Druids and minions, and I'd rather just take the minion units instead of the Druids.
Yeah.
And even, like, that leads us into Druids of Orboros went down 3 points, and, like, they needed more than that. Like, they're a technical unit that just pushes stuff away. Like, at the very least, give them back Force Bolt.
Yeah, the Druids of just, like, they're really, really hurt from what they used to be, right? Like, Druids probably were... I don't think Druids were broken because back then clouds were very different than they are now because there's a lot more to mitigate it. So I think the Druids are kind of like still kind of suffering from that mentality, but a points reduction does not make this unit any less trash than what it is.
No, like they really needed to go back to Magic Ability 7. They needed like their UA to possibly get back counter magic to give them a role as the like anti-magic unit in Circle. Like maybe even AD back on the UA would have been nice. It's just like, I think you're right. They're just paying for the fact that they were like the staple unit of Circle in Mark II, and they just never really recovered from that.
Exactly. So now we can go into an oft not seen unit is the Reeves of Orboros. So they went down 1 point on each side of their max and min unit for the capping out at 15. And the POW of their double crossbow became 10, which I think the Reeve kind of also got a lot of that too. So, or Reeve Hunter, sorry. So these guys are interesting. They still have their combined range, right? And they can just like shoot 20 shots. Or they can shoot 2 bigger ones.
Yep, they can shoot 2 big CRAs at PS 21. Because the banner guy doesn't have one. Now they don't have to do 2-man CRAs to finally hit POW 10. Like when they were POW 8, like it was trash outside of Tanith. And like the problem is like I still don't see them seeing a lot of play outside Tanith.
Yeah,
just because they are
Affliction is really needed.
Affliction is really needed on them. Like they're really expensive still. Like 15 points for a max unit, and I think the UA went down to 3. So
yeah, it's like almost like this unit is paying the extra points because it's
the Reeve Hunter is still 4.
No.
The UA is still 4.
I'm sorry. What I was getting at with this one is these guys are still like the price point on them is so high because it's maybe like this is atypical Circle stuff and it's not something you see, so it's supposed to be really premium, and it's like I don't care.
They're really expensive because they're rate of fire 2, so they can still do like 2-man CRAs to be Rat 7, POW 12. And like that's where they're paying the points, but they're Rat 5 base, so they're designed around CRAing or taking a Moonhound, so that's extra points spent on the unit for marked target. Mm-hmm. And it's just like they're just so expensive, and 13-13 isn't that great of a stat line, even with Go to Ground from the UA. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really happy they're POW 10. I just really wish they had gotten more than a 1-point drop.
Yeah.
And like part of me was really hoping they'd get both barrels. Mm-hmm. To give them like
a little more versatility.
A little bit more versatility. So like, or at least going up to Rat 6. Like if they had kept POW 8 but went up to Rat 6 in both barrels, so they can do Rat 6 POW 12s on their own single shots, like I would have been probably okay with that. Like maybe there's a role for them, but I still just see them being played with Tanith.
Yeah, that's where they'll be. So now we got the Stoneward and Woodstockers. These are the little shrimp boys. They went down 2 points, and I don't think that really puts them in lists.
No, like I'm still not excited for them. The fact that like concentrated fire is nice on them, but they're still like you have to hit every shot, then everybody's getting extra POW. So it's like if concentrated fire did +1 hit, +1 damage, maybe I'd be a lot more excited because it's always like one guy always misses in the chain, so then you're not capping it, then they don't have boosts. So like they might see play in Bones or even Secret Masters as just like they're cheap-ish, but they really, really suffer as soon as like 1 or 2 of the Stalkers go down. Like they lose so much efficiency that it's just like they lose efficiency on a unit that already wasn't that efficient.
Yeah, they're really just not an easy unit to take and make their points back at all. Now this change is one that I was hoping for more out of too. I know like we've been moping a little bit in the unit selection here, but Wartborn Skinwalkers, they just went down 1 and 2 points, so they're 8-13 for the unit. I just really like, they seemed like they were a neat way to get a tankier, more fighty unit in a non-Tharn list, and I just don't think, like, when you compare them to the rest of the medium-based infantry in the game, that they got enough to really make them extremely attractive.
No, like, they're still speed 5, the only unit in Circle without Pathfinder, still just POW 12. Yeah, they can gang up to 14, but like you said, they do something that Circle typically doesn't do and try and be tanky, but being 12-16 up to 12-18 with Unyielding is just basically comparable to being 13-15 Tharn with rapid healing.
Yeah.
Even if Tharn have 3 less boxes and 3 less armor against melee, like rapid healing and tough kind of just makes up for that, and they hit harder. Whereas like the only thing that really cranks the armor on Skinwalkers is Baldur 1 and Baldur 2. And Baldur 1, like, I love Baldur 1, but man, his strength and armor buff, like that -1 speed and defense hurts.
Yeah.
And Baldur 2, like, he'll be in my things to bitch about at the end about things that didn't change. But like, I just really wish Skinwalkers had gotten something more, because they used to be a really fun unit back in the day, and with like rapid strike, and I think they had CMA and rapid strike, so you could kind of waterfall it, but instead they gave them gang. But like single attack at gang, it just is kind of like cute. Even though the UA did go down a point, I was just kind of hoping for something more than just basically the max unit going down 3 points total with the UA.
Yeah, they needed more. So Wolves of Orboros, they didn't change in points at all. They just ended up going up 1 strength and 1 POW. So like they're swinging POW 11 sticks now. I think if you were taking Wolves before, you're probably taking them again. The standard along with them got a little bit cheaper and got the same kind of buffs, but I don't think that it makes me like windmill slam Wolves into any list that I'm playing that didn't have them before.
No, it just solidifies them in Wild Hunt that if you're taking infantry, like I'd rather take Wolves over Skinwalkers, which just feels wrong to say, because
Absolutely, yeah.
The Wolves of Orboros with their mini feet are weapon masters basically, and they can ambush and theme, and then like you can just basically, you can try and do a not a play style that Circle usually does where you're just spamming weapon master dudes, because like they are really cheap still, like 11 points for a 10-man unit. Even if their stats are bad at 13-13, the UA is only 3 points, so it's 14 points for a max unit of 12 dudes that can mini feat for weapon masters, which isn't bad. So like there might see some play there, but I still think you're going to be taking a 1 unit in Wild Hunt just for the ambush alone, but maybe you might take a unit or 2 more if you're going to try and spam bodies in this meta of more dudes.
Alrighty, so moving on to the attachments, we've just got a couple more point reductions here between the Tharn Blood Shaman. The Alpha went down a point. We talked about the Wolves. The Druid Wilder went down 1 point, which I don't think is like big deal.
I mean, it's nice because it still has the free upkeep. Like the attachments going down are nice because like you're probably going to take them anyway. Now you might actually take a Wilder just for the free upkeep at 3 points. Like that's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Now the Stonekeeper change seems interesting.
Yeah, it going down to 1 point means I'm actually going to be taking it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
And then the Reeves of Orboros, Chieftain and Standard, they got the same changes. Seeing the Blood Shaman down 1 point is actually interesting too, just because like I think if you were taking a Tharn Blood Shaman, you were not using it as a rec option. You were always paying for it. So like that actually is not like a non-impactful change.
No, and pretty much every Tharn list I made had a Blood Shaman, so that's really nice.
Yeah.
Just like the 1 point there, the points from the War Beasts, even though Tharn, like the units and the souls outside the Blood Shaman didn't get changes, like the War Beast going down and the Shaman going down means you netted yourself a few extra points, even though in most realities, like most I own lists are either running a bird or min battle group points, so now actually if stuff went down too much points, you're actually going to have to change the battle group. It's like the Sorcerer 1 problem of like Behemoth got too cheap where you can't just take Behemoth, so now you have to take a second jack.
Yep, it's a birth.
Yeah.
So overall, when we think about the changes for Circle, I think that there really is more of the changes are benefiting from the living war beasts getting the alterations that they've gotten. Of course, the wolves getting cheaper is a big deal for the faction too. I don't think that, I know that we kind of spiraled and doomed a little bit on some of the Circle stuff, but I do think that Circle could have used a little bit more attention than what it got here. These are all really decent quality of life updates, which is what they've decided to title this update. So like, I get it. It's cool. There's some things that are coming up that I probably don't think any of us would have really like looked at maybe, 3 weeks ago, like Bradagus, probably not ever going to look at him until this change happened. So I think that Circle got some neat stuff out of this, but I think they could have gotten more. So how do you feel about Circle right now?
I'm feeling good about the living changes. Like Tharn is still really good. Even if you did lose Kogan as a rec option, that's one of the partisan changes for Circle. There's not many partisan Circle units besides Kogan.
Yeah.
And Wolf with no name, but Wolf with no name is just Wolf with no name, and he is what he is. But Kogan not being free is kind of a big thing. Like, I'm having trouble squeezing him back into my Tharn lists. But the living beast changes are really nice. I'm excited to try Chromac again, Chromac 1, Chromac 2. Even if they didn't get the changes, I really hope they would.
You're reluctantly grabbing for them. You're like, fine, I guess I'll play.
I was like, man, I was excited for Chromac 1, and then you didn't get any really changes. So, like, that did kill my enthusiasm a little bit. Overall, like, really nice changes. Wild Hunt, the unit aspect of Wild Hunt could have used more fleshing out because they are still just bad Tharn.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the only reason to play Wild Hunt is for the War Beasts, and like the units are just kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
Whereas Tharn, you're playing for the units, and then you're just taking War Beasts because you have to. Bones got cheaper. Secret Masters got gutted, but that's like all the minion stuff getting nerfed, and that's way too long to even talk about. Like how Melvin and Mayhem, Archons, Dunians no longer being free, Kogan not being free, Scythe not being free. Like Secret Masters has to adapt and evolve, but it's still like the Super Minions theme, and it's not the I Play Druids theme unless you're doing a very, very specific build.
Yeah, that's the place where I would have liked to have seen more changes, was just for the infantry, because like I don't think the changes that they did were really all that impactful.
No, and like I guess the one thing I wish they had changed, like even more than the Chromax, is fucking Baldur 2.
Yeah.
Like, I've been bitching nonstop about his worm tokens ever since Fiora 4 came out, because her tokens are literally just infinitely better versions of worm tokens. Like, she gets +1 strength per token. She has a spell to increase her tokens. They don't damage her, and if you strip her upkeeps, it does damage to you, so it does like counter offensive stuff, where Baldur is just like, I get +1 strength and I slowly kill myself, so you have to take Megalith from my bond. Like, I would really hoped Baldur 2 would at least get the tokens changed to not kill himself, but that's just too much to ask for.
I believe he's probably one of the only warlocks left in the game that actively destroys himself as the game goes on, outside of maybe Naresh, but Naresh makes sense.
And Naresh is optional. Like, he doesn't. I mean,
well,
Baldur
it's optional in that you will feat with him. So
yeah,
if you don't want to feat, it's optional.
I mean, you don't have to cut yourself to upkeep with him, but I guess Baldur 2 can walk every turn and strip the tokens from himself, and it's just like, I'd really hoped for, like, my biggest wishes were Chromax and Baldur, but otherwise I'm excited to try Living War Beasts. I'm not excited about trying them into some of the buffed gun lines that they said they were trying to get rid of. Like, there's a few, but that's like a whole other discussion about things that slip through.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm excited for them in a vacuum. I'm not excited to try and play them into buffed Kalissa or buffed Kane or, God forbid, buffed Haley one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I am excited to at least try them.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. So let us know in the comments below what kind of changes you really liked about this, what ones you would like to see more, and if you are a Circle player, what are your thoughts about the dynamic update or quality of life update overall?